Good morning, glad you could join us. Hey, I want to share some things that I picked up from Bob Goff's latest book. He's got a devotional book, 365 daily readings, and this one starts with Matthew chapter 15, verse 11. What goes into someone's mouth does not defile them, but what comes out of their mouth, that is what defiles them. The words that we speak, they are very important. So Bob Goff says, and I didn't realize that he was Irish. I don't know why I didn't necessarily know that, but he says, my people come from County Cork in Ireland. And it's an area where potatoes are grown in the fields laced with four-leaf clovers. And it's also the location of the Blarney Castle. This is a piece of limestone that was put into a wall of Blarney Castle. There is a piece of limestone, you know, it's the Blarney Stone. And the story that circulated is if you kiss this stone, you get the gift of gab. In other words, you talk for a long time about things that don't matter. Yeah, okay, I'm Irish, you know. So the story goes that every time Queen Elizabeth sent one of her people to capture the castle, they became engaged in such long conversation about nothing that the capture was never completed. The Queen kept asking for reports and became so frustrated that she said, "It's all Blarney." The rest is history. Well, Bob goes on to say, and I'm sure you do too, that you must know some people that it seemingly have kissed the stone a time or two because they spend an awful lot of amount of time talking about things that just don't matter. Yeah, all talk is not bad. We all know sometimes people need to verbally process. I'm one of those people. Sometimes I'll start talking about kind of a situation that I'm dealing with. I'm not asking for a solution. I'm not asking for an answer. I'm just processing it. It doesn't stop people from giving me answers or solutions, but sometimes people just need to talk it through, and that's cool. And it can be very helpful. There's others who just talk way too much, and I probably can be guilty of that. Working on that, though, about things that don't matter to anyone but themselves. Here's a tip from Bob Goff. Don't be that guy. When it comes to your speech, exercise discretion because Jesus said what comes out of your mouth really matters. And then to quote Steve Martin from Planes, Trains, and Automobile, if you're telling a story, try having a point, okay? Makes it so much more interesting for the listener. Bob says that he also knows some people who feel weirdly comfortable being as quiet as the dead. Yeah, sometimes it's just a little awkward, isn't it? And they don't contribute anything to a conversation. He says, try not to be that guy either. Try to go out of your way and open up. Instead, be known as a person who's both candid and measured with their words. Oh, that's a great combination. Candid and measured. Your words last much longer than the conversation. That's good. I'm going to say it again. Your words last much longer than the conversation. I remember back in the day, I was doing a high school Sunday school class in Oak Brook. And one Sunday we went out there, I had this feather pillow, we cut it open, and I had the students scatter the feathers all over the place. And they did that. And we came back in, I did not tell them why we did that. And then the next week I said, here's the empty, container for the pillow, like the pillowcase, but you know what I'm saying. And I said, let's go out and get the feathers. And they're like, well, we can't. We went out there, but we only found like maybe 1%. The rest, could you imagine if I said, no one comes back in until we fill the pillow? The point of the story is those are what our words are like. They keep going. You can say something and say, oh no, I'm going to take it back, but it's already been repeated to somebody else and maybe to somebody else. And it's really hard to get our words back. So whether you have the gift of gab or you tend to be a little stingy with your words, spend time today to say words that matter. And I love this verse from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11. So encourage each other. That means words, folks, okay? Encourage each other and build each other up just as you're already doing. God bless you. Have a great day.